Inside the X is a short newsletter every Friday designed to give you some fun right before the weekend. It'll include links to blog posts, articles, books, quotes, and recent purchases I've made. Everything is handpicked to add value to your life. To join, email entertainmentxpodcast@gmail.com.
Good morning, Vietnam!
But it ain't about how hard you hit. It's about how hard you can get hit and keep moving forward.
To infinity and beyond!
Some people without brains do an awful lot of talking, don't they?
It's classified.
You talking to me?
I could tell you, but then I'd have to kill you.
I can't lie!
Expecto Patronum!
Entertainment X.
You never know what you're gonna get.
For this episode, I sit down with J.D. Scalzo. J.D. has created this online TV show called Jaded, and I've watched it. It's wonderful. The links will be in the show notes. You should check it out. I talked to him about pretty much the war of art and how he has navigated his mind and this world to complete this show. He went from no ideas, nothing created, and in a matter of months had the first season created and is continuing to create. It's like the floodgates have opened, and I'm fascinated with this idea. This idea that he can just simply create, because I think there's a lot of floodgates up for a lot of people, and the idea is to get those down and let the creativity start to flow. So that's a very wordy way of me saying I get to the core of how he's gotten out of his own way. So I hope you enjoy this episode and keep on keeping on. We're back, and today with me is J.D. Scalzo. J.D., thank you for coming over today.
Hi, Clay. Thanks for inviting me over. It's so great to be here.
Happy Halloween.
Happy Halloween.
When people listen to this, it'll be deep into winter.
That's fine, but just so you know, it was a great Halloween this year.
It was wonderful.
Yeah.
Tonight was great.
I
Even
had
though
a
it's
great
noon.
time tonight. Tomorrow may not be the best.
Your
but
costume looked wonderful.
I know.
I haven't seen it yet, but by the time it
Thank
comes,
you.
yeah, it's great.
Yeah.
Okay, so fun. We met with another friend of mine, Mike Deneen. Great guy.
Great guy. Wonderful. One of my longest friends.
You grew up with him.
Well, we went to high school together, and then he followed me to college, and then
He followed you.
yeah.
That's how it goes.
No, we ended up deciding to go to college, to the same college, to Wagner College here in New York, and our friendship has only gotten stronger and better, and
Yeah.
it's awesome. He's a great guy, great family, great person.
I know, it's literally, can't say enough nice things about him. And it's fun because this the saying keeps coming up. You're the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. And
I've never heard that.
Really?
I love that. And that makes so much sense.
Yeah.
Wow.
Once I heard it, I'll say it one more time so people don't have to rewind. You're the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with.
Wow.
It's true. It's so true.
And it changes. It must change with the people you spend a lot of time with. Like that's got to evolve in different ways. I can even just now track back how my average has changed based on who I've been around.
Isn't that insane?
Especially being in LA now, where I'm not constantly around as many people anymore.
Yeah.
I think when I lived here, when I lived in San Francisco, I was always surrounded by a lot more people at any given time.
Yeah.
But now I can identify my average, or what makes up my average. That's really cool. I like that.
Isn't that cool?
Yeah.
And it's so fun because obviously, like, the older you get, the more picky choosy you become.
Totally.
Sometimes just because life is happening. You don't
And
have the
quality
time.
over quantity. I'd
And
rather
quality.
spend time with, the people that I want to spend time with, and not to discredit anybody else. But there's only so much time we have.
It's so limited. It really is.
Yeah.
And Mike Deneen is definitely quality.
He is quality.
So are you.
He's gonna love this.
I know, right? He's gonna save it or keep listening to it. So you went to college for musical theater, correct, Amundo?
Yeah. Wagner College Theater has an emphasis on musical theater, but they do a lot of straight drama plays as well, and they get to dabble in the film world. But I grew up doing musical theater. I used to do theater at a tiny little children's theater in West Haven, Connecticut, at the University of New Haven. We did 5 shows a year. We rehearsed Monday through Thursday, 6 to 9. We did 2 shows every weekend, 2 shows every Saturday. And it was the Cinderellas and the Music Mans and the Tom Sawyers. And I got very lucky to play all the parts and sing all the time. And I did it in high school and be sang. And I, as I got older and, my voice changed and I started to meet the Mike Denines of the world, I just recognized my strengths and wanted to focus on those rather than, I just knew that there was better singers than me, and I wanted to focus on other things like theater and straight dramas and film. So it's not that I gave up musical theater. I'll still do it. Hell, I'll do a musical tomorrow if I could. I just kind of know that I struggle at auditioning for them at times. So I have just found more comfort in plays and film. But it's definitely built my foundation. Musical theater performance has built my foundation, and I learned a lot of things at Wagner from it.
Yeah. Yeah. Did you learn that in college? Like, when did you have the self-awareness to kind of like reevaluate?
It was college.
Literally during college.
Yeah, honestly, it was looking around at the people that I was in class with and watching their voices soar and watching their musical performance career take off. And I just recognized that, I can do other things, so why not do that? It's not to say you should give up on that. It's just I wasn't finding joy in singing anymore. It became kind of a chore. It kind of got associated with what's the word?
Cleaning the house.
Well, I became very self-conscious about singing, and it was making performance less enjoyable for me. You go to a musical theater program, no matter where you go, there's a lot of anxieties and politics and stuff that go into performing in those programs, and it just started to become less enjoyable for me. And I had a blast doing the classics and the dramas and the comedies and the film when I could. When I went to college here, I was always in and out of the city doing stuff because we were here in New York City and there was a lot of opportunities. So
tons.
Yeah, so it was at that time I just decided, I'm gonna sing forever, but isn't that a song, Fame?
Yeah,
I'm gonna live forever. Yeah.
I'm gonna live forever.
See, I will never not. I mean, I walk through the street and will sing a song. I mean, somebody will reference a single word and I will start singing to them. I picked that up from my dad, actually.
Yeah.
But so music is always going to be part of my life, and singing will always be part of my life. But I just recognized that there was a lot of people that can do it really well, and the competition's tough enough. So why not focus on something that I know I can?
How long were you here in New York City before you moved to the West Coast?
After college, I lived here for 3 years.
Auditioning,
yep.
Like still trying the musical theater thing, or was this more like straight plays? And
so much. I kind of picked
film?
up pretty quickly that it was a straight play film kind of thing I wanted to do. I had a lot of teachers that were great and honest. That my high school acting teacher, was wonderful. Eric Nyquist was one of my biggest inspirations, and he was pretty honest. Your voice is good. It's just not right. You're going. He always said, and he was right, that you'll end up in L.A. And at the time, it was just like, oh yeah, I'm New York. That's where I want to go. And he's 100% right, and he meant that just because of the film world. And But yeah, it was just, I appreciated that honesty growing up because I had great voice teachers too, and people that cast me in musicals and such. It's just you become self-aware. I think that's a really important thing to have in this business, self-awareness, because
huge.
You need to get yourself to that audition and you need to leave it in the room.
It's so true. So when you're out there in LA auditioning, you book some independent films.
Yes. Yeah.
Was that quick? Or were you there for a while before? I'm always so interested, like the time leading up to booking stuff.
Actually, I mean, if you look at this from the day I moved to LA to when I booked those films, it was weeks, which was really cool. Wow. I also spent 3 years in San Francisco in between New York and LA.
Okay.
I moved to LA in the summer of 2017, and within the first couple of weeks, booked 2 pretty great roles in some in my 2 first feature films that were filming back up in the Bay Area. So,
of course.
Yeah, that's how it always works out.
Yeah.
And yeah, it was quick and it was exciting and I had done a lot of short films. I had done pilots. I had done in independent web series and such. So I'd always been familiar with the film world, but no, getting a full feature script and seeing, well, how do we do this? And the first one I booked, I was a supporting role, an important supporting role. And then the second one was basically a two-hander feature film. So it's just like, wow, I'm an actor now. It worked. It happened.
Yeah.
And it felt good.
That's cool. That's so cool. What were the standout moments on set when you're working with other professionals and you guys are like things that worked or didn't work? Does anything stand out in your mind from the productions?
I have a friend that tells me I've worked with a lot of really great people in my career, and a friend of mine is always excited to watch me work with people that in his mind are equally as talented. I mean that quite humbly, but it is a lot better when you can work with really great, giving, generous actors. And when I got to set for filming Devil's Path, which was the second feature, and we just actually had our New York City premiere in October of 2018, and the actor opposite me brought such a complex, rich, specific characterization and choices, and it just made it all the more exciting because it was just like open the door for me to do that. Not that I wouldn't have on my own, but we were filming for 10 days and we were filming 5 to 5, so it was like, how much time do we actually have? In film there's no rehearsal, there's very little time for that kind of stuff to develop together. But when I saw him just kind of show up with it, it was great because it was just like, oh, I can do it too. So those moments of watching him make these bold choices and, maybe thinking outside the box and then getting pulled aside and working and getting those conversations with the director and getting the guidance. Matthew Montgomery was the director of Devil's Path, and he offered a lot of really great insight and conversation and trust. He trusted us and me and it made it for a very inviting and warm work environment.
What do you appreciate about a good director?
That the empathy, somebody that's been there, somebody that has acted before, somebody that can understand the struggles that you may be having just as a technician in that moment. I mean, the whole, I can't remember my lines, or I can't,
hit my mark or whatever that is.
Yeah, exactly. Somebody that actually can understand why that half of it, the technical side of things, and then can also have the language and can express what it is he wants through the actor's vocabulary. So I always appreciate that. Not to say directors who haven't acted are bad, but it's always a little bit extra helpful when they've been in your shoes before.
Yeah. And I asked that question about what do you appreciate because I imagine you've brought some of that or all of that to your, direction, or at least the way you are present on set for like your own project.
Yeah.
Because you're the one in charge. In
a way, yeah. For my web series.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I did not direct it though, and I was grateful for that. I enlisted the help of a really talented director, Brian Emmerich, who's a local to San Francisco filmmaker, kind of in the documentary, music video compilation, kind of jack of all trades. And I knew he could help tell the story. And it was great because it allowed me to get to set and just be an actor. But it was my baby. It is my baby. Producer, creator, writer, whatever you want to call it. All of it, yeah. But it was grateful to not direct and, hand it off to someone and share the collaboration. But yeah, I do bring that. I know, what it was helpful for in this regard was writing from an actor's standpoint. Okay. It was so exciting to sit in front of my computer and actually act out these scenes in my words and make them natural dialogue and conversation, and just I think that's what has helped me, because this was the first thing I wrote. And writing from an actor's point of view, knowing what, as an actor myself, how I want things to sound and how I want them to feel comfortable, and from simple things, just word structure and sentence structure and just intonation and all that stuff that you figure out as an actor, but kind of infusing that from the writer's point of view to help the actors that are about to play these parts. I think that was a really cool process, one that I hadn't really thought I would be as excited about.
Yeah. What prompted you to write Jaded?
Well, Jaded...
It's a loaded question.
Yeah. So Jaded is a semi-autobiographical story in response to a lot of experiences I was having as a gay man dating through particularly San Francisco, but having lived here, New York City, I experienced similar situations here, but in particular, I was just kind of that. I was feeling a bit jaded. I was feeling a bit downtrodden about some relationships. I had been through the ringer in the dating scene and met some ridiculous people and wonderful people, but also I would come home often and be like, you can't write this. But you can. And in particular, I had... do you remember when Carrie Fisher passed away and Meryl Streep won her Golden Globe for the Cecil B. DeMille Award? And she gets up there, and at the end of it, she said, to quote Carrie Fisher, "Take your broken heart, make it into art." That, honestly, that moment was what gave me permission to write Jaded. I hadn't written anything. I struggled with, can I be so personal? Am I worthy? Is it fair to myself? And that night, that quote, and then talking to a really good friend of mine, Tom McVeigh, who ended up actually being in Jaded, and telling me to write what you know and write from your heart and have fun with it. And so I did that, and it was in response to a bit of a heartbreaking, complicated relationship I had found myself in with a couple who are still very much great friends and also a part of the project. And that was just kind of like a thin gold thread of the storyline, and just taking an opportunity to tell this story, tell the stories of this culture, because why not tell more stories from the gay world? Why not tell stories about complicated relationships? And I mean, everybody's had their heart broke. Everybody's been in love with the wrong person. Everybody's, been struggling with their own identity in response to a kind of a relationship they've been in. So it was all of this that just kind of wrote itself, and the first 6 in episode 1, he starts, in the bathroom. And in real life, I had come home in San Francisco in between a 2-show day, and I was in the bathroom freaking out about a guy, and I said, wait, this would be a great opening monologue to something. And I came home that night with a bottle of red wine and wrote 6 episodes.
Oh my! That was what prompted it. Now so did you?
That was like the long form answer. But
no, I like this. It gives me more questions.
Great.
Was the Carrie Fisher thing that you saw? Her say, "Take your broken heart, make it art." Was that before you had this conversation with yourself of like, "Oh, I'm going to go home and write this"?
No,
monologue?
the conversation with myself happened in November.
Okay.
And I came home and I wrote it.
Okay.
The inner struggle of, can I write this? Can I do this? Is it fair to myself? Is it too personal? Is it fair to the people that have inspired these situations? And then I think in the next month, December of that year, she made that quote, and I was like, yeah, that's what you do. That's what we do as artists. You have to write with what you know, and what more of a powerful place than to write from a place of vulnerability and heartbreak. And because from heartbreak, I think, and definitely from that situation, I've become stronger and learned so much more about myself as a person seeking love and seeking self-love and seeking self-worth and identifying all that. So yeah, right from that place. And that's what I did. So then that happened. And then I kind of didn't really know where it was going to go. And then that real life stuff got even harder and kind of imploded in a way. And that's when I knew I had a show.
I love that.
That's where I knew
don't
the
love
show
that,
would
but
go.
that's
Yeah,
funny.
no,
That's
yeah,
funny.
no. And I say this all now looking back because of how much. Well, because of how much I can look back with it with confidence that it made me a better person, and that it was a tough situation, but everybody involved is still very important. So it's in a weird way, it had to happen because it was just a beautiful opportunity to create art.
What do you feel this show could teach a viewer who turns it on?
Somebody at a film festival the other day says we need more queer stories because we're here and we're not going anywhere. So that's the broad umbrella, the big political stance I have. And because I'm not really trying to push an agenda here, but I think it could teach that we have stories, we have hearts, we have sensitivity underneath the... Yes, Jaded is very much set in a sex-driven hookup culture, but... Happy Halloween.
Happy Halloween. You can hear the doorbell.
Jaded is very much set in a sex-driven hookup culture, but we... sorry.
It's distracting. I love it.
It's
I
okay.
hope that people can hear it. The
I
listeners.
hope they can, too.
It's the best part because we're not in like a radio station.
Exactly,
So
yeah,
it's
yeah,
like
yeah.
you get the ambient
Yeah.
noise, the sirens.
Yeah. My point with that is
Yeah.
that it's the emotional. We track the emotional response to this culture, to these situations, and just to prove that everybody is going to deal with different relationships and wait, can I go back to that question? That answer, yeah, because I want. This was
take it
important.
back?
Yeah,
All right.
I can just go back to the. What I was saying,
Okay.
yes, Jaded is very much set in this sex-driven hookup culture,
Yeah.
but it's the heart that's underneath all these people. It's kind of the sensitive beings, the vulnerable creatures, the ones seeking, the seekers that are underneath all these kind of protections that we put on in this culture. And I just want people to just kind of take it, have an open heart and open mind to people like this, to no matter who they love and how they love and what they love. It's just having an opportunity to meet these people. So I want them to just, be open to all different types of challenging love stories in a way, because that's what it is. There's a whole mix of love stories between friends, between, confidants, between family, and ultimately between yourself. Between it. It's a quest for self-love, because you can easily lose that in a culture like this that we highlight. And when you are being rejected often and also doing the rejection, you sometimes do lose a little bit of yourself, and we hope that he can kind of show that you can regain it too. You can find it again.
When you created it, did you have an end in mind? Like 5 seasons, 10 seasons, 2 seasons, a season?
When I originally wrote it, spoiler alert, the character was going to leave San Francisco and move to LA, because I thought, hey, that's what I'm doing, so why not keep tracking them? And I just thought, because he was also originally an actor.
Okay.
And I had been told from somebody that I did this really cool pitch fest and pitched to like 25 different, take a look at it. Reverie, the LGBT streaming platform.
Yeah.
They hosted a pitch fest at the London Hotel in West Hollywood, and I had been in conversation with them about Jaded just for some advice, because I also am on a web series on their network called The Gay Husbands of San Francisco. Very different, very fun. But they were hosting a pitch fest, and I had this opportunity to literally, it was like speed dating. I went there. I emailed them on a Thursday, and they invited me. It was 2 days later. So I put all my pieces together, and I went there, and I went to just go pitch. It was nothing more for feedback. There was a contest involved, but I was just excited at the opportunity to talk to 25 LGBT media executives that I would have never talked to otherwise. People from Logo, people from Grindr's putting out their new a content distribution.
Yeah, I didn't know that.
Yeah,
That's awesome.
So, yeah, and Seed and Spark was there. All these amazing people. The guy that created, I think it was Queer Eye, was there. It was all these amazing
David?
people.
The show creator of Queer Eye?
Yes.
David Collins, I think his name is.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
I only say that because I really appreciate that show. We
Great.
can go wrap
Sure.
around to that show too.
Yeah.
Cool.
But yes, so my point was not my point, but what I was saying was it was a great opportunity To launch it, I lost what you asked me.
No, it was the whole. Well, this is great because we're going all over the place, which is what's the point of this whole thing is.
Yeah.
Where did you decide, or did you decide to have an end? For
Oh
it?
yes,
An
that's
end in
right.
mind?
So basically,
That's
somebody at that pitch fest told me not to make him an actor
Why?
because there's so many other stories online about actors.
It's
and
just
he
like
was right.
oversaturated.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not that it's not interesting, but it could be more interesting with another thing. And then it actually totally reshaped Jaded. He works in San Francisco at this nondescript gay dating app, and he hates his job and he doesn't want to talk about it because something I found in San Francisco was everyone was very successul, but nobody really knew what anybody was doing. Like we never, and nobody really cared. We didn't talk about that. Everyone knew that they worked at this startup or they did a thing. And so when I made him do that, it was this kind of we get to play on this joke of like he works for the hookup culture and he's stuck in the hookup culture and he just wants to get out of the hookup culture. So it was just a fun little trick to play. Yeah. So ultimately, then I realized, well, he's not gonna leave LA because we were also getting to showcase San Francisco in such a beautiful way. And San Francisco, I think, is one of the most beautiful cities in the world. And I got to live there for 3 years, and I wanted to continue telling that story. And of course, yeah, it's been done before, sort of, in different ways, but we're getting an opportunity to really show off the city. So when I first set out to write it, it was one season, and I kind of thought it would just be like, let's just do like a little long form, 10 minutes an episode. But now I have definitely a whole second season in mind, and I could see it going further because season 1, yes, is very much a singular point of view from the character of Jackson that I play, that I have written as like this turned up version of myself, if you can believe it. I know a lot of my friends who just heard that are rolling their eyes, but he's the version of my head that I think that exists in my head that. Is a little more amped up, and all of the inner anxieties that I have as JD, I put them outwardly in this character. So that was fun to play with. But season 2, there's a bunch of other characters that we meet in season 1 that I want to develop, and relationships and different kind of things that can happen. Mike Deneen is in. He shows up in episode 6 and 8, and he plays opposite a good friend of mine, Brooke Parshin, and they're gonna have some pretty fun stuff in season 2, and so it's just exciting to play. So who knows? I mean, the sky's the limit at this point. Yeah. A lot of people keep asking me. Right now, we're in October 2018, so as of right now, we have 3 episodes streaming, and by the time this will be up, we'll have the first. Yeah, so by the time this will be up, we have the first 4. Do you care if I say that?
Yeah,
okay,
say all of it.
So we'll have the first 4 episodes, and they are kind of structured and written as kind of like the first half. So it's like our mid-season finale. And I'm okay with that. Like everyone keeps saying, what do you want to do with it? I'm okay with what it is right now as a made-for-the-internet web series. We will finish season 1 before we even start planning for season 2, which we only have a couple more days of shooting and about 3 episodes worth of material. And I want to just I want season 1 to all look and feel the same and be able to present, 8, 10-minute episodes, so like an hour and 20 worth of material. And then we see what happens. Of course, I'm not going to say no if people are interested in helping me to build it out or collaborate, or if a network or a platform wants to stream us. Right now we're on Vimeo, and we also got hooked up with a channel on Roku. ZPTV is streaming us as well. So all of these things have happened so quickly that I don't know what's going to happen with it, and I'm trying to just accept what's happening with it now is what it is, and I'm grateful for that.
Your initial thought to write it down, was that at all out of a frustration of being a performer or any sort of I mean, of course it's an outlet for yourself, but the reason that you decided to create it, was it because you were not doing enough other stuff? Or was this just a side project that kind of grew?
No, it was a side project. I've been very fortunate to work a lot in various forms. Nothing totally big, but this was. I started writing this when I was living in San Francisco, and I was doing a lot of theater in San Francisco. A lot of really awesome theater. Yeah. particularly with New Conservatory Theater out there and Fault Line Theater Group. And I was always busy. And I'd actually be saying in episode 2, I don't do well when I'm idle. Actually, Mike Deneen said that to me once. He's going to love this. But he said that to me once. You don't do well when you're idle. And I don't. So So not only was this an emotional, cathartic experience, because that's all it was supposed to be, it was, well, why not? Why can't I just start writing something? And the only reason I've ever not written anything is because I genuinely didn't know how to format. I didn't know do people, handwrite things, or do people go on Microsoft Word and like indent? And so that's what I was doing for the first, that night I did the first 6 episodes. I was on Google Docs, just like indenting and mapping it out, and like interior, Jackson's bedroom, and then I just felt like I was a writer, and I even changed the font to like typewriter font. I was like, yeah, I'm a writer. Look at me.
Now it's legit.
Yeah. So it was just to do it. It came from the emotional experience. It was something that I had read enough scripts. I was able to. It wasn't foreign to me, but it was just kind of, why not try it? And now getting to hear response, to be aware of the response of something new that I'm doing is really cool. Like growing up as an actor, I just did it, and it was just my thing. So I was never aware that like I was good or even castable or whatever. But now getting to be at almost 30 years old and be able to have conversations of people responding to a whole new thing that I can now do in my career is really cool, and I'm very grateful for that. I'm very humbled by it, for sure.
Did you have any limiting self-beliefs or self-doubt conversations in your mind about creating this? Like, I can't create this. I'm not qualified. Anything like that?
All of that.
How did you overcome it?
Talking to friends, and I am surrounded by a lot of really awesome people, creatives, friends, family, old, young, men, women, and I talk a lot, and I ask a lot of questions, and I need that advice. I need people to see all of my points and all of my fears and all of my anxieties around it, and then allow them to kind of respond with their own advice. Because ultimately, I'm going to make my own decision, but I need to talk it all out. And I was afraid of the raw reality of it. I had a friend just a couple weeks ago say in response to Jaded, it's like, you're telling all of our secrets. I was like, your secrets? I was like, now my Aunt Cindy knows all about my life, but those are things that I did have to overcome. And then I also realized, well, like, what the hell? Why not? I mean, you write what you know, you start with yourself, and all the more I will admit, when the first 2 episodes went out, when they were going out live after the live premiere, when they were streaming, and I was sitting alone in my kitchen for 3 nights in a row in LA, like watching the viewers go up, watching the view numbers go up, and I'll admit that was terrifying. But now, a couple episodes in, it's somewhat empowering. I have nothing to hide, That character is an embellished version of me for sure, and and those people do exist, but I got over those blocks because I was just so excited to do it, and just so excited to push the boundaries and do this unapologetic storytelling and create a space for other actors and artists to collaborate on it. So other logistic things that I didn't know if we would raise money, and so a friend of mine had suggested to do a Kickstarter, and we ended up doing GoFundMe, and we did it, and we raised close to, I think it was over $6,500. So it was identifying all of the things that were holding me back, and then coming up with a solution. And I'm really good at that. I'm actually really good at problem solving, especially when it's personal stuff, just in general. But when it came to the production, it was work. It was, okay, how do we make it? How do we get there? And so yeah, I recognized any of the insecurities or the fears I had about it, and I just kind of went with it. I still don't think I recognize the magnitude of it all. I have a lot of friends that are like, you realize you wrote a thing and you did it in a year and you put a bunch of people and now it's online, and I'm like, yeah, I'm bored. What do I do now? And it is, and I'm grateful, and it's awesome, and it is a really cool thing, but something somewhere deep inside it just hasn't like hit yet. Because I also know that there's so much more to do, and there's so much more I want to do. So I don't want to sound like I've mastered anything by any means.
How do you go about giving yourself like self-love?
Gratitude. It's a new thing. I struggle with that.
Yeah.
One may think that having been through a lot of the situations that I've outlined in Jaded and specific heartbreaking relationships, that you lose your self-worth a little bit, or you lose sight of your self-worth, but I've actually I gained it. I was able to value it because it also it allowed me to recognize all of the wonderful things I do have in my life. And physically practicing gratitude, I listen to a lot of Oprah.
She's great.
And I was driving up to, like I said, new thing, driving up to San Francisco. We were going to Pride Weekend, and then we were going to film the following week, Jaded. I was a ball of anxiety. I had a terrible fight with one of my absolute best friends, and I just felt horrible that I was mean, and I was taking my frustrations and fears and just downright insecurities out on anybody. I spent 2 hours on that 6-hour drive listing all the things I'm grateful for. You know, friends, family, all very specific. The Cheez-Its I was eating, you know, and Oprah is right. Everybody that has ever practiced gratitude is right. It changes your physicality. It changes your mindset. I mean, it's all positive thinking, and it's an active, tangible thing that you can do to get through all that and to practice self-love.
I'm loving this answer, and I want to continue it for a second, because I feel like what you just said is like the world's biggest secret.
Yeah.
Like, people don't, I'm speaking very generally for anyone who's listening, I'm not saying you, people in general, I guess I would say, is they don't practice gratitude. Because it's more socially acceptable, you know, to watch the news, read the newspaper. This is what's upsetting me. This is And I'm not saying that negativity doesn't exist, and I'm not saying that you should ignore it or dismiss it.
Totally.
But you can use that as a way to increase gratitude for the things you do have. And as a result, probably operate from a more resourceful state, which gets you to create instead of just giving an opinion.
I mean, practicing gratitude is easier than going to the gym. I mean, you don't have to do anything. We can do it right here. And that's what I don't think people realize, because I don't think people trust its power, is what I've recognized. I didn't know. I mean, I was in tears at the end of that 2-hour block I gave myself of practicing, because my body was buzzing. It was like a high that I had never experienced. And you can do it yourself, you know?
What did you do?
I just sat there and I said, I'm thankful for this. I'm thankful for that. I'm thankful for people, and just literally just put to words out loud what I was grateful for. It was also a form of meditation. It was also a form of like mantra, and it was a form of being present. I struggle very, very hard with staying present, especially in this business. What's my next project? What was the last project? You know, are they going to like this episode? Practicing gratitude, speaking those words out loud, I couldn't do anything but sit there and drive the car and talk, and I was present. And I think that's a rare opportunity I gave myself.
Yeah. It's so great to operate from that space, because when you're operating from, lack of gratitude, it generally is fear.
Yeah.
And when you're in a fearful place, you're operating on a survival, which is what the body is made for.
All things to your...
Because the mind is... I mean, literally, the brain is, what, million years old, 400,000? The modern brain is like 400,000 years old. And it's built for survival. It's not built for happiness. Yeah. It's built to survive. So when you can exercise, I mean, it doesn't even cost you sweat, really.
Exactly, yeah.
This gratitude.
And you have to. It's a muscle.
Amazing. You literally unlock... It is.
I learned the happiness as a muscle when I moved to LA. It's a hard city. It's a hard transition coming from a place like New York and coming from a place like San Francisco, where I had both really strong communities. I was really obsessed with this idea of happiness. I actually worked at this pop-up museum downtown LA called the Happy Place. I'll leave it at that.
Okay.
But I was really curious about happiness, and it's a new revelation that happiness is a muscle. Happiness isn't necessarily like a fundamental, right? You have to work at that. What makes you happy? And that also was a part of my whole self-love journey. I mean, you don't just wake up happy sometimes. And so what can I do to help myself feel that way? And, that's in line with your question about self-love. It's, surrounding yourself with those 5 people that are your average.
Yeah.
And really, and doing things that actually make you happy and that you want to do, and trusting yourself, and trusting the process, trusting that everything will actually work out.
How have you? Yes. Yeah. No, I'm so excited over this. I'm just cut you off. How have you gotten better at giving yourself permission to create, to ask?
I think I can actually say that I have gotten better. I don't know if I would have said that a year ago.
I feel like it's just so evident, what you create in 1 year.
Yeah.
You can't get it without asking, because you need people. You need people.
Yeah.
And I'm curious how you've gotten better at that.
Yeah. I think it's a lot to do with the people that I've worked with too, the people that I've surrounded myself with. Issa Rae gave an interview once talking about how you network out, you work with the people that you are around you, and then eventually someone's gonna get pulled up. You get pulled up together, and that was a huge part of making Jaded. I wanted it to be a passion project for everybody involved. I wanted everybody to come at it with a love and appreciation for it, and so for me, it was really building a professional atmosphere. I wanted people also to know that we weren't going to waste their time. I don't like getting my time wasted on any project or anything. And I wanted people to know that if they were going to commit to this, I was going to commit to them, whether they were, hair and makeup or playing the love interest. And, because everybody is, there was no hierarchy here. Everybody was really creating something together. So it's building that trust. I mean, when you're getting into any kind of relationship in this business, I mean, any kind of relationship needs to be built on trust and communication, and I think that stands true for creative partnerships and creative relationships that we did. So I think I've just gotten better at building those connections with the basic fundamentals of trust and communication. I think I could get better at well, that wasn't going to make any sense, so I'm going to just leave it at that. I mean, there's a lot of things that I could get better at.
Yeah.
I've learned more in this last year.
Not you.
Right, but for sure. No, honestly.
I'm like, oh, Lord, yeah.
Yeah, because by no means, and that's what I meant before. It's like when people say, what do you want to do this? Like, I want this to ride out. But I've learned more in the last year professionally, and personally too, I think, than I have in 29 years on Earth. And it's been so rewarding and fulfilling, and that's probably why I don't recognize the magnitude, because I'm still so much in it. I'm in the eye of the storm, and everyone around me is kind of watching the effects, and that's cool. But
it's awesome.
Yeah,
it's just awesome. And okay, so speaking about learning lessons and what have you, and I want to get down to some logistics of writing, scheduling, casting, filming, setting up shots, if you had any say in all of or any of that. What have you learned from, let's just say, like the first 4 episodes or first episode? Like, what are some lessons that have stand out in your mind?
Scheduling is really important for me.
Okay.
Building a schedule for people to know what we're doing, how we're doing, and where we're doing it, and when. Kind of speaks back to like building a trusting environment too. I want them to know that their time's not wasted.
Yeah.
And we're gonna make it. Having fun. I know everybody always says, make sure you have fun, or you look like you're having fun up there. It is so important. If you are, this is what we all want to. Everybody in this kind of business, we want to do it. Everybody ultimately wants, is doing what they want to do if they're fortunate enough. But this business in particular, you got to have fun with it. You got to have fun with it, especially Jaded is, I've been calling it a rom-dram. Because it's a romantic dramedy. There's funny elements, but it's hard, and it is, heartbreaking and awkward. And so you got to have fun with it. And for me personally, especially because it's like, putting a lot of things that I had already, kicking up a lot of dust for me personally, you have to have fun. And that was something that my director and I agreed upon from day one, was we just want this to be fun. Yeah, it's going to be a lot of work, and there's going to be stress, and there's going to be, snappy little fights sometimes, just because we're all trying to get to the end of the day and get to a product. But you got to have fun. I've also learned that there is so much that goes into producing that I didn't even realize. I mean, I personally haven't done anything else since I started producing this.
Yeah.
It was good timing because both of those feature films were kind of taking on this festival circuit life. So I was enjoying this side of the business and like going to those and, doing press for the festival and like producing this. But man, I want to pick up a play script and just go on a stage, because when I do not doing one thing, I want to do the other, and I hadn't been doing that. But it was fulfilling. But there's a lot of stuff that goes into producing, like time management and money, and how expensive things are, and
Those cameras,
man, those sounds, those microphones, those lights.
Oh, the lights. Yeah.
And kind of also to your point too, I've also learned that when you ask people to do things, or for favors, or for locations, or for an hour or two on set, they'll 9 times out of 10 will say yes if you just ask. I mean, I picked up a phone and called all of the locations, the restaurants that we shot at, and just said, hey, I'm doing this thing. We don't have a lot of money. Would you be interested in like letting us shoot there for a couple hours? And they, for the most part, said yes. Same thing with music. I'm very fortunate to have a lot of singer-songwriter friends, and I said, hey, I can't really afford to pay for licensing for your song, but if you, how about exposure for trade? And because I wanted this vehicle to be just as much of an opportunity for other people, I have great friends that lent us their music that also spoke to the themes and the storyline of the show. So if you just ask, I wouldn't have had my director if I didn't just have the guts to ask, hey, would you help me make my Kickstarter pitch? I'll be in San Francisco for a week. And he said, well, actually, yeah, I'll do it if I can direct an episode. And I said, well, actually, you can direct the whole thing if you want. And thus began that relationship.
Yeah.
So just ask. The worst they're going to say is no. And so be it. You find another way. And because there will always be another way.
Always. What have you learned about writing? Through lines, characters, plots?
The power of the actor, and how amazing it is to see somebody come in and take your language and make it their own. And if it's good enough, I'm not even saying that it is, but if there's this like flexibility in the dialogue, then people can run with it. I have an actor in Jaded, Jordan Digby plays Fahad. And I wrote that character very much based on one of my best friends in San Francisco. And it was a very particular type character, hard to cast. And the real life person is from Bahrain. And I wanted to use it as an opportunity to help to explore the diverse representation in San Francisco.
Yeah.
So I was casting, we had a casting session, and I just couldn't find anybody. And I'm sitting at my old apartment in LA, and I swear, I kid you not, Jordan walks in to the kitchen with this like light around him. And he had gone to school for theater, and he's an actor. And I said, Jordan, I don't want to audition you, but would you read this with me? This kid took off with that part and just made it his own, and made choices and decisions and characterizations that I didn't even intend to write. And that was probably the first moment I realized, wow, I might be a writer. I might be able to do this. And that was really cool for me.
Wow.
Yeah, that was a really awesome thing.
Did you read any of these episodes with friends, like in a living room, sitting down?
Yeah. Yes, actually, where I'm staying right now in New York with Tom McVeigh, who ended up playing Shay in the show, and his boyfriend EJ. They were the first people I read it out loud with. Actually, it would have been almost a year ago at Christmas time, and I was nervous because they're really great close friends, but this was the first time anybody was going to actors were going to read it. The first people that actually ever read the scripts were lady friends, and that was really cool for me because they identified right away with this story that's very much draped in the gay culture, but like I said, it's a universal themes and such. So when they responded to it, I was like, okay, I can do it. And then I brought the scripts and we did the sides and we read it in his living room and they were like, oh, and it was quick and it was witty and it was funny and I was like, oh my God, this is the thing, this is happening. And then I had a casting call in San Francisco and that was really cool. I brought in a friend to do a reading, to be a reader so I could watch. And then I read with a couple of actors and yeah, that was a wild thing to hear it.
Did you hire a casting director or did you just get a room?
I just got a room.
You booked a room?
I booked a room in San Francisco. There's a lot of really great talented actors in San Francisco, and not a lot of narrative projects like this. So I wanted to really try to feature as much Bay Area talent as I could. Because of timing and schedules, I ended up using a lot of actor friends, and I was able to cast a few actors from there. But yeah, I just got a room, had a casting session, and it was really cool.
What's the best feedback that you've gotten on your work? And I don't mean like complimentary, stroke the ego. I mean like creative. I mean, obviously that's not what I mean. Yeah. But creative feedback. Has there been anything that stands out?
Well, creative feedback, people, now that there's like a third episode out, people, and will be a fourth, people are starting to connect the dots that I very clearly put in there. And that's been cool. People are understanding why characters or relationships are happening and unfolding sort of slowly in a way that they are. Just the mere fact that people are emotionally responding to it. I mean, my brother called me and said, I started laughing and now you broke my heart. So that kind of stuff. Do you mean more like logistical?
Yeah, even scripts, yeah, even stuff that like I'm just so interested because the writing aspect is.
Yeah, no, go.
Yeah, I'm just interested.
Yeah, the best is when someone's like, oh, I was this guy, or I know that guy, or I've been this person, and because that's what allowed me to like release a little bit too. Because yes, it's a lot about me, but if you can identify with it, that's great. Then it again gives me that permission to let it go a lot more. So when people were really identifying and sympathizing and empathizing with these characters, that was really cool because that's what this whole media is for. That's what we're doing. We want people to connect to these stories in whichever way they do.
That's wonderful. That's so wonderful. That literally prompted another thought in my mind that is escaping me at the very moment. This is great. Okay, so you guys looking towards the future, the rest of season 1, do you have a deadline? Do you have an idea of when you want to? And I know you get this question so much, and this is another thing I want to cover as well. First of all, is there a deadline?
The good thing with me being the producer and having a co-producer, we get to make our own deadlines.
Yes.
But no, ultimately, yeah. I mean, the idea was originally to finish filming by the end of the calendar year, but I mean, it's already the end of the calendar year, and because we're working on a very low budget, people got to make money, so I can't ask people to. The good thing is we only really need about 4 or 5 days worth of shooting, and I can go up and down to San Francisco as much as I want, and a lot of what we have left is mostly my character with like 1 or 2 others, so it's manageable. I would like to get it done in the early parts of 2019 because I don't want to lose momentum. I mean, we're already seeing that it's difficult to keep momentum from episode to episode without a network and without a press team. And I would like, what is it? So I would say by the first couple months of 2019 to have everything out and ready, because I would also like to, I'm going to be submitting to festivals in the next coming months. So by then, the festival season doesn't really exist. It's just kind of, they're kind of all over the place.
Yeah.
we have a couple in mind for early spring that I would love to have the full season out by then, so we can show a couple and then they can go back and watch it, and then ultimately we can pick back up and start making season 2 in the summer like we did last year. So I have like an idea of a timeline and such, but there's a lot of other factors. There's a lot of other opportunities with it that are popping up. So again, because we're not on anybody else's schedule, it's nice. There's a lot of flexibility with that.
In terms of this deadline thing, there's a lot, and we've shared, because we spoke yesterday and today on people who see your work, your friends or other people that are acquaintances, and they say to you, oh, what are you going to do next?
Mm-hmm.
What are the deadlines? Where's it going to go? How big do you want it? Let's go big. I'm going to shop it for you, X, Y, and Z. What have you learned about staying true to yourself and your project as that garbage comes up?
No, I'm glad. That is something that I'm very much in the moment dealing with, because not only is this a personal project, but this is something I've been waiting to do, and I have to get better at maintaining control, because this business is full of people that want to, quote, help you, but also want to be connected to something that
is successful.
Good and successful. And
Yeah.
there's businesses also full of people that don't recognize that, and I do recognize that. And it's not happening often. I mean, but you just have to be aware of who you're talking to, and just for me personally, it's reminding myself myself that this is something I created and I wrote and I manage, and giving myself permission to tell people and have those hard conversations that may not have even happened yet, but conversations that need to happen. You have to maintain control, because ultimately I don't want to lose it. I don't want to give up on it because of, it got an icky, people got involved the wrong way, and so I wish I had a better answer, only because I'm dealing with that now. It's stuff that I hadn't done before. As an actor, I was show up, go and do something. I didn't have to worry about that kind of stuff. But maintaining control over the intellectual property, but also the idea and just the future of it.
Yeah.
I want them to keep asking me those questions, because I want to be in control of where it goes. But
Of course.
yeah.
Wow. JD, this has been an incredible conversation.
Yeah, it really has.
I'm so glad we get to sit down and
blown
chat.
my mind too. I mean, I'm looking out over the city and just like, I'm only, 29, and I feel like I'm having an opportunity to reflect on my career up to now because of you. So I appreciate that. And
Thank you.
again, I'm very aware of that. It's just getting started, but I have learned a lot, and I have been fortunate enough to work with a lot of great people and in a lot of great projects, and fall and get back up and do all that stuff that we do in this business. So it's been a really cool chance for me to reflect on it myself. So thank you.
Well, thank you, and you're welcome. And thank you.
And thank you, Mike Deneen.
Yes, Mike, literally, he's set me up with
He's
so many
set-
kind people.
Yeah,
It's
he's a good person.
insane.
He is.
And it's so great that we get to chat, because it's not either. A lot of the guests that I have on are already very established, and they have it all figured out. And those early lessons sometimes it's easier to document those early lessons when you're talking to someone who's going on the early stages.
Yeah, and I very much
it.
don't have it figured out, which is the
But
best
that's
part.
the best part.
And that's what I mean.
Yes.
That's my self-deprecating shtick, but that's something I'm proud of these days.
And that's why I'm so glad we can document it.
Yeah.
Because someone who
Yes.
has this idea, who's like, I don't know, maybe,
Yeah.
like if you're sitting down talking to Steven Spielberg, he'll be like, well, we had craft services, and then we had the Panavision cameras, and it was, I was talking to Brian De Palma, and they just directed it, and we created a series. But to talk with you right now at the beginning is so much more, not like that's not educational, but
Right.
this on a different level is so much more educational.
And you may have been about to allude to this, but if somebody does have an idea, just do it. That's all I can say is just do it. I mean, there's been a lot of people involved with Jaded that have decided, I'm going to write my own short film, or I'm going to do a series, or I'm going to audition more. And that, to me, my job is done. Like to have been able to inspire in the small way that I have these people to get back into their careers or do something else. To anybody out there that listening and might be wanting to do it, just do it. That's why, when people say, oh, this has been done before, or that, I heard about this. Well, it's like, if you don't like it, write it yourself and go out and do something and make it your own, because we can. Why not? Like, that's the beauty of this business. There's opportunity. Everybody's making something, so just make it. So if you really want to make something, just make it. And do it. Go to that audition and write that play, and it's just, you can do it. It's thrilling. It's scary, but it's thrilling.
And life is short.
Yes.
So get to it.
Yeah. Life is short.
Just get to it.
Yeah.
It's insane. Just do it. I love this.
Yeah.
I love that conversation. This whole conversation. Is there a word or a phrase metaphorically that you'd put on a billboard for like millions of people to see?
Oh, wow.
Because I like just do it. That's one of them.
I would probably steal. I don't really know if I can do this, but I would steal from. I go to Burning Man, and I have a lot of friends in the burner culture, and burn bright. Burn bright, because ultimately, like you just said, life is short, and we are going to burn out someday. But while you're lit, be bright, and that's something I've learned in coming out. It's something that I've learned in this business is be bold, be loud, be proud, make big choices. Hell, I'm going out tonight as Bridezilla. Do what you and again, it's not that I'm an expert at it, but when somebody started saying that to me, burn bright, I mean, yeah, why not? And a lot of people don't, and it's hard, and I can see it in a lot of people, even people close to me, whose lights aren't really lit at all anymore, and that sucks. But if you have an opportunity to burn bright,
while you're lit, burn bright.
Yeah,
that's great.
Yeah.
Oh, that resonates with me so hard. Where can we find you?
Ooh, you can. God, since this whole production thing has happened, I've completely my website has fallen to the wayside. It has a lovely picture of me and a quote about unicorns, but Instagram, JD Scalzo, email jd@jdscalzo.com. I live in LA near the Grove. You can come find me. I don't really have many friends there, so if you're listening in LA, call me, be my friend. Let's get coffee. Yeah.
That's great.
And I do want to try to be here some more often in the new year, so fingers crossed.
Yes. Oh my God, it'd be great. I'd love to keep hanging out with you.
Yeah.
Yeah, and now I have a reason to go to LA.
Yes,
too,
you
so
do.
this is
Come
great.
out there.
Where can we find Jaded?
Jaded is right now currently streaming on Vimeo. If you just go to vimeo.com/JadedXSF, that's our main webpage. We're also on Facebook. It's also streaming on ZPTV on Roku, just as another outlet. So, yeah.
Wow. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm so glad we could chat.
Me too. I can't wait to reflect on today, but just this has been a great opportunity for me. So thank you.
And I really have to say you are burning extremely bright. So it's inspiring, and I hope it inspires everyone who listens as well. So thank you, JD. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, JD Scalzo.
You've been listening to Entertainment X, the podcast. You can follow Entertainment X on Instagram @_EntertainmentX_. If you haven't yet, go to Apple Podcasts and subscribe, rate, and review this podcast. Join Clay next week for another curiosity conversation on Entertainment X. Thank you for listening.